Bill Maher's latest book is fittingly titled, What This Comedian Said Will Shock You. Because from stand-up to politically incorrect to real time, he's built a career on not holding back. Take a look.
The Republicans have been showing up at the trial dressed like Trump. Well, I know, it's all funny until it's the law. J.D. Vance was there, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tommy Tuberville, the head of the House, Mike Johnson, Matt Gaetz. No wonder Trump falls asleep in the trial. He's counting his sheep.
Please welcome Bill Maher.
Those I know and those I don't. Nice to be here. Thank you. Hi.
You know, Bill.
They like me here.
They do.
Yeah,
So
good.
far.
Joy likes you. That's big.
I do.
I know.
I do like them.
her.
We know each other for years.
Yes.
We're comedians, you know.
This is a good
We're in the
buddy
same
comedy.
Did we
club.
start in the clubs together? Were you at the...
We were LA, I was New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was New York.
Oh, sorry. So wait,
And it was only like 15 years ago, right? Because we're 40.
Yeah, exactly. So you have this new book out, and you know, I watch your show all the time, so I know that you're a comic, but you basically go after Trump and Biden, you know, both of them, and a lot of people are not happy with you about that.
I'm not equally.
Well, not equally, because you know that Trump is more dangerous.
Of course. I mean, I don't think anybody was more out front on that danger than I was. I was talking about how he was never going to give up power long ago when everybody was laughing at me and said, you smoke too much pot. And I said, I smoke just the right amount of pot. Because plainly, you know, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he was elected the first time.
That's right.
I said, this guy is never going to concede power. It's impossible to imagine him going, oh, I lost.
Yeah, can't do it.
That's just not in his nature.
So, but I'm nervous about saying anything against Biden because I feel, you know, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously, but...
Oh, I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, you know, influence people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility. I do. I mean, my bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say, but you know I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's... Yeah. Okay. And look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
I know.
But Trump doesn't present that way. You know, you look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
Well, here's what I said. Like, when I came back after the strike in September, I said, he should get out. Because he's just lost the faith of people. It's not fair. He's actually done a pretty good job. Yeah. But I said, he's going to be Ruth Bader Biden. That's the term I used. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She stayed too long at the fair. Yeah. I remember Obama had her over to the White House, like in 2013, to hint, you know, hey, spend more time with the grandkids. That would not be a good idea, Ruth. And she didn't take the hint, and she was not in good health, and she stayed too long, and she ruined her legacy and got the Supreme Court now to be a pretty right-wing organization. Said Biden shouldn't do that, but, you know, ego, he's Dracula. Well, he has crossed oceans of time to be here, and he's not going to give it up now.
Well, you lead me kind of the next question. The election is less than 6 months away, and Biden has done good things. He's made improvements and strides on employment numbers, infrastructure, gun reform, climate action. The stock market is experiencing highs. Now, Trump is facing 88 felony charges, and he talks a lot about the Supreme Court decision. He brags that he's the reason it was turned, Roe v. Wade, and hence he won't accept the results if he doesn't win anyway. So what are we missing here, or what are people missing here? Because there's a disconnect with that contrast. Because I understand what you're saying about old. I've been critical as well, but that is not enough for me to tip the scale the other way, and yet for some it is.
Well, I think some people resent the question, like, what don't you get? Look, I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
And I think a conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, they see Donald Trump as a bulwark against, you know? And that stuff is a lot closer to the home. It's like my kid is coming home from school, and they're not allowed to tell me if they're transitioning. The school is going to take the side of the kid over the parent. Stuff like that. There is a lot of crazy stuff on the left. This book, there's stuff that each side is going to like, and probably stuff they're not going to like so much in there, because that's the answer to the Donald Trump situation is what's going to get him elected is this woke stuff that a lot of people in this country just don't go for.
Well, one thing that I break with is that you can disagree on candidates, but when one talks about literally upending the entire democracy, that's my heart out. Like, there's not an equal comparison here. So I know you said some people resent that question of being asked that, but when given these two options, are they not as scared of the idea, or do they just not think he's going to?
Yeah, Donald Trump benefits from people not taking him seriously, because he's both stupid and crazy.
Right.
And those are
A lethal combination.
well, and those are two different things.
Yeah.
But like he just has said everything about everything. I remember like after, was it the Parkland shooting, and they had a big conclave about guns, and he said in the middle of it, why don't we take away the guns first? Mm-hmm. Now, can you imagine anything more anathema to the right wing than saying that? It just popped into his head. He says whatever pops into. Hey, Mike, let's take away the guns first. I mean, they don't care.
Well,
they don't take him seriously. It's the greatest advantage a politician could have, especially on policy.
He's also good at flooding the zone. He says so much that any one thing he says gets dropped so quickly.
Exactly.
And I want to ask about this, because you've talked a lot about the trial. And I kind of have the belief that this trial in some ways may be benefiting Trump, in the sense that he's in a courtroom, he's not out saying crazy stuff day in and day out, immigrants poison the blood of the country and so on. And then on top of it, if in fact there ends up being a hung jury or an acquittal, I think that feeds into the narrative he's built of it's a witch hunt, it's progressive judges coming after him. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I never thought they should have brought this trial, or if they did, it should be a federal case. I mean, I tore Merrick Garland a new one a few weeks ago on my show, because I think they've had 4 years to do this. Where was it? Why are we coming to the end and they're able to run out the clock? This is ridiculous. The Democrats do this every time. It's so interesting. Whenever the Republicans appoint a prosecutor, it's a Republican. And whenever the Democrats do it, it's also a Republican.
Self-destructive.
I don't understand this. And Merrick Garland, he just let it happen. This trial should have been a federal case about violating election laws, instead of a falsifying business records in a state case, which is very convoluted. And also, to the average person, it's a case about sex.
Yeah.
You know, he was having sex with a porn star.
They don't care.
Oh, I think it makes it more juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's...
But it was in 2006. People made their peace with it in 2016, as voters did.
Yes.
The actual affair of
Donald Trump having an affair with a porn star while his wife is home nursing their baby is what I assume he would be doing. It doesn't shock me.
It's on brand.
It's on brand.
It's on brand.
And I remember the Bill Clinton trial.
On brand also.
Yes, and I remember the Republicans, when that was going on, were all about this is the rule of law, and our hands are tied, and what are we going to tell the children?
Yeah, but wait, what we're not going to forget is what you're getting ready to say when we come back.
Oh, okay.
From this break. We are back with Bill Maher. Sonny has the first question.
Well, I had a different question. But it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left? But don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
Too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I think you're almost a free speech absolutist. You believe totally in the right to say what you believe. But I think a lot of us were disturbed to see terrorist flags being waved on American college campuses, and seeing this a generation that some I think genuinely care about the plight of the Palestinians. I think most Americans do, but some who seem to be embracing a terrorist organization over the nation of Israel. What do you make of this moment? What do you think it's a result of? How do we fix it?
Well, I mean, it's just astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean, let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values. I mean, women have this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place, and a lot of majority Muslim countries around the world. I mean, there is no equal rights as far as speech, dress, opportunities for education, reproductive rights, freedom from sexual violence, freedom from sexual harassment.
The LGBTQ community as well.
That too. But you throw around the term apartheid. There is a gender apartheid in a lot of the world, where women are second-class citizens, at best.
Are you at all concerned about the innocent civilians that have been collectively punished and murdered, largely children and women? And are you at all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Well, that's ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war. Because it's a war, and they were attacked, and they're defending themselves. Now, this is a war. Do you think Hamas needs to be destroyed? This is the question.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So how can we do that with a ceasefire?
All right. So Hamas needs to be destroyed because they are a terrorist organization who say openly that they want to commit genocide on the Jewish people, on the state of Israel. That's what from the river to the sea means, okay? And they say it very openly. They said, we did this attack. They've attacked Israel 5 times. They've started 5 wars since they were given that land back. They could have chosen to turn that place into any place they wanted to, and they took a lot of money that they took from the international community, and they spent it on bombs and guns and building tunnels. So if they need to be destroyed, how do we do that? It's a war. I don't know how to do that, and you don't know how to do that.
I
assume the Israeli... Of course, everybody is, but that's what happens in a war. Here's a way to stop that. Stop attacking Israel.
And stop calling for the annihilation of Israel and all the Jews. They're calling for the annihilation of the Jews. And so you can't really defend that on the other side very easily.
But before we go, I want to say...
No, we're not going anywhere yet.
Okay, but I just want to say one thing, as we were talking in the break. Joy is a wonderful human being, and she should not be afraid that people are going to attack her because she said the thing about the swastika on the cap.
Well,
she does not think that as you said to me in the break, you do not think that all the people who are for Trump are Nazis.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't.
I just want them to pay attention to words like vermin and poisoning the blood and the Third Reich. That's all. That's really what I'm asking.
They see Trump as a comedian. They see him as a clown who says crazy things.
They saw Hitler like that.
Right, okay, but that doesn't mean, you can hate Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It is half the
I have some in my family. I don't think they're Nazis.
Okay, great. I'm glad we got that. I don't want you hurt in the supermarket.
When we come back, we have more with Bill Maher. We are back with Bill Maher. So I have a question for you, because I don't know if you've noticed what I've noticed. But I find that oftentimes when I'm watching the news, I'm only getting portions, because one of the things that happens, I was listening to you talk about, the kids that had the Hamas flags. It reminded me of when people were saying Antifa is there, and doing that. So bad players show up and make stuff happen. But do you find that the view that we're being shown seems to be meant to guide us into thinking about people one way, when in fact it may be a much bigger conversation?
Oh, of course. I mean, the media is always going to just chase what is interesting to watch. I mean, I used to be able to watch the nightly news, for example. I can't do it. I mean, first of all, it should be called, here's some video we found that's fun to watch. That's not the news. Like anything that happens on a plane. Like, the plane skidded off the runway, so what? Call me when anybody died, and it's not, the door fell off. Okay. I'm sorry.
I understand the door falling off, plus you don't want to be up in the air.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. That one I needed to know.
Okay.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And then by the time you get to the last segment, it's just, the bears in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth. I mean, it's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it.
Yeah.
And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other half.
Yeah.
And it's tedious.
Yeah.
I just want one place, and of course it's my book and my show, where you can get both.
You're leading me right into what I was going to talk about, because we are talking about your...
Sorry. Here too.
We're talking about your new book, which is that 20 years of your editorials re-edited and reimagined right in time for Father's Day. What do you want people to take away from reading it?
Well, I think I think we're tribal now, which is not good. And I think there's 4 tribes, basically. There's old school liberals, which I would mostly count myself as, old school conservatives. There's still some of those left.
You've changed, though.
Wait, what are the other two? Go ahead.
Well, that's what I was trying to find out in this book. I don't think I have. And we were saying in the break, we have to come up with a new word for woke. Let's have a contest, because this is a word that's triggering. But I mean, those concepts that are different than they were 5 years ago. I mean, we used to do, well, you did it. I was a guest on what was the homeless show? Comic Relief.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
You were, great show.
Yeah.
And homeless was a term that I thought we kind of came up with, because people were calling them bums and vagrants and hobos.
Now that's
homeless. No.
It's unhoused.
Well, it's people experiencing homelessness. But they're experiencing it on the street.
Yeah.
Okay, the liberal view of that was for compassion's sake. We're the liberals. We're compassion. Let's get these people off the street.
Yeah.
That's not the view of the whatever word we're going to come up with for this. Their view of the homeless is they're an endangered species that needs to be protected in their natural habitat. Living their best life under a bridge. That to me is crazy. That's the kind of things, I haven't changed on that. I still think we should get these people off the street. That's the compassion sake. So I didn't change, they changed, and there's lots of examples of that.
And there's lots of examples of the media giving one side, as she says. It's the reason, I think, that we don't know about Biden's accomplishments, because it's too boring to say he fixed the infrastructure, he fixed the economy.
It's not sexy.
No one wants to hear.
And they know that who is going to make chaos. They know it.
Right.
But you know what? You know who's not making chaos? Right here. He's not making chaos. Our thanks to Bill Maher. His new book, What this comedian said will shock you is out now. And you know what, y'all? Would you like to have a copy of it? Yes? Okay, everybody's getting a copy of the book. We'll be right back.